run 6. Here we can see Dab only has 3. He has 2 explosive runes and the ice block. The secret mechanics are not the backbone of this deck. Instead, you want to enable Flame Waker to deal as much damage, to shoot off as many missiles as is physically possible. And if Dab can manipulate that Flame Waker to deal that damage very early on, the bananaramic will simply not have the time to react. So Dab is 100% the aggressor here. Bananaramic doesn't need to actually get to the position where he can just play the Aviana Kun Malagos combo and win the game. He just needs to not die, and then he will win eventually.
Yeah, that's a classic who's the beatdown in this matchup. When two decks are very similar to each other, they have to really decide who's the aggressor and who's the control player. This is probably a classic, easy-to-solve deck here. Dab's trying to burn you out by around turn 5, 6, or 7. Bananaramic just wants to survive and then start playing cards that say things like draw 5 cards, deal 5 damage, put a 5/5 into play. Are there any good cards like that? I'm not sure.
Shield Maiden. Oh, you a 5/5 and 5 armor
for only 6 mana. That's crazy. That might be the most valuable card in the game.
Firelands Portal gives you 5 damage and a 5 mana cost card. I can't think of anything else though. Wow. That's
We'll have to see.
If you put all those together for 10 mana, that would be pretty stupid.
On one piece of cardboard, too. Digital cardboard.
One piece of digital cardboard. Bananaramic just has to rip that Poison Seeds here to clear the Flame Waker off of the board. Flame Waker is public enemy #1. Now that Dab wasn't able to take advantage of the Flame Waker on the board to shoot off missiles with Coin, with Arcane Missiles, with Forgotten Torch, Bananaramic's clock just got that much longer. And now Dab really needs to find Alaneth. That's going to be the big engine for Dab to simply have the resources to stay in this game in the late game.
I think this is a great poker play here by Dab. He's playing Loatheb to help develop his board, and it was, obviously you can't see your opponent's hand, but what a read. Spreading Plague off the board. Branching Paths, unplayable. Swipe that just got drawn, can't play it. Bananaramic is stuck here looking at, I guess, playing a Faceless Manipulator on a Loatheb. Ugh, like that's a terrible play relative to the Spreading Plague that he wanted to run.
That is a feels bad man play indeed. 2 Faceless Manipulators in the deck, but ideally these Faceless Manipulators are used for that combo later on. Aviana, the Forgotten King, and then Malagos, Faceless, the Malagos. Suddenly your Moonfires deal a stupid amount of damage. Granted, like we said before, Bananaramic not necessarily going for that overall line of play. So the Faceless here is unfortunately what he has to go with. Really intelligent by Dab. It just so happened that the mana cost lined up this way. By getting that Loatheb out, Bananaramic doesn't have 7 mana, and Malfurion the Pestilent, one of the best plays for the Druid into that Loatheb, still not playable.
And he was going to be able to get Malfurion next turn, so he can still get 2 of the taunts out. It's not quite as good as the Spreading Plague for 3 taunts, but I think for Dab, he's got to start thinking about getting this Mad Scientist on the board, because as you mentioned before the match, there's only 3 secrets in the whole deck. One of them's already been drawn in his hand. So you don't want to top deck all 3 of your secrets and then be stuck with these valueless 2/2s. So trying to get that Mad Scientist out over the next, 2 to 3 turns is going to be important, because you don't want to start putting Alanith down, drawing 3 cards a turn, and then starting to invalidate other cards that are already in your hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention, the more secrets and cards that you pull from your deck, then the more that you thin your deck, and the greater likelihood that you do have of drawing impactful cards, namely that Alaneth. But Dab is just going to go on full offense here, clear off the Loatheb from the Faceless Manipulator of Bananaramic, and continue to push damage. Now Bananaramic, this is likely a Malfurion turn. It will put Bananaramic at 22 life, give him the option of armoring up further over the next couple of turns with the hero power, and will disrupt some damage from Dab with those Scarabs. But Dab continues to be able to just pressure Bananaramic, and Bananaramic hasn't actually been able to stem the blood flow quite yet. And I do have to say, every time I say Bananaramic, I just smile.
Oh, great. I mean, best name
phenomenal.
Since Concerned Mom. Yeah.
Best name in the last 10 minutes.
So one thing I think that was the right choice. I agree with you on the Malfurion, simply because if I play Spreading Plague for 3 1/5s, then sure, that third 1/5 absorbs 5 damage, but that's the exact same as just having 5 armor when you're trying to just stay alive.
Yes.
So you're effectively getting it, except you're enabling that amazing hero power of either 3 attack to clear off problem childs on the board, or really, I expect him to use the 3 armor pretty much every turn, because as you mentioned, simply surviving is good enough at this point. Just living until turn 10, 11, and so on, and having the ability just to drop an ultimate infestation and turn the game around is pretty much Bananarama's plan A.
You heard it here first, folks. Jin Rami advocating for taking problem children and just shipping them off.
Just
kill them.
Send them off. Tell your wife, sell your kids. I'm really just here to make Cora laugh. That's my whole goal. Forgotten Torch is going to take out the defender, but also shuffle back into the deck, and now another high-value card for that Alanith to maybe draw later.
Roaring Torch is so good. If you like Fireball, then you really like 3-mana Fireball. And bananaramic drawing into an unusable card right now. Malygos is not going to be hitting this board anytime soon. bananaramic still playing from behind, and unfortunately now caught in this dichotomy of wanting to Spreading Plague because it stops the most damage from connecting to banaнаramic's face, but also wanting to swipe because if Dab does have just a couple of spells in hand, then suddenly the Flame Waker is going to make it so that Dab's minions can clear up the Spreading Plague tokens anyway. But I do like the Spreading Plague here. It doesn't feel good, but I don't think you're at liberty of being able to just swipe the Flame Waker and hero power down the Loatheb without worrying about dying.
Yeah, I think, and you can also use his hero power to take out the Valet. So now it's 4 taunts into 4 minions, or into 3 minions, but he opts instead to take the armor. Yeah, I guess it makes sense, right? It's a burn deck. You don't want to go from 1 armor, 17 health, down to 16 health and put you that much closer, but it kind of depends on how much you care about keeping the board managed. I think if you know that Swipe is only going to deal with 1 of the 2 minions, you're better off trying to get as many of the 3 and 4 power, or 3 and 4 health minions off the board as quickly as you can.
Fortunately for bananaramic, Dab does not have burn in hand, doesn't have the spells to actually utilize this Flame Waker on the board. And without now an Alaneth draw very quickly, Dab is out of gas. Let's see. Alaneth is, that's the best draw on the deck. Primordial Glyph is quite good as well. Could facilitate more draw, more resources. But you're really just looking for that legendary weapon.
And that shows you how quickly a game of Wild can turn. Just a very, 2 turns ago, Dab looked very much in control, but back-to-back turns of Malfurion after the Loatheb play. Sorry, Dab played that Loatheb on turn 5, really put bananaramic in a bad position with 6. He had to do a horrible play, I feel like, of faceless manipulating a Loatheb. So 5 mana 5/5 on turn 6. You'd normally lose a game of Wild doing that, but he was able to stabilize with back-to-back Spider turns between Malfurion and then Spreading Plague, and now is, I think, just going to stabilize. I'm not exactly sure how Dab could kill him at this point when you consider that bananaramic is going to start gaining about 3 armor a turn.
There was a pretty sweet play here. bananaramic could have used Faceless on the Flame Waker and then gone for the swipe and tried to utilize some of his own missiles, but that plays a little bit too much into Explosive Runes, which he hasn't actually tested for yet. So this is a safer, guaranteed clean up, and I think that bananaramic may have turned the corner. Dab just does not have the resources to continue fighting for this game in the later turns unless he finds Alaneth next turn, the turn after. But bananaramic can just safely stick a Malygos next turn if he even wants to. Yeah,
the clock starts ticking very quickly. That, if you drew Alaneth maybe this turn, you could turn it around. If you draw it 3 turns from now, you're giving bananaramic the opportunity to go Malygos, pass, Manipulator, Branching Path, draw some cards, pass.
And Branching Paths for 12 armor at any point in time.
Oh, man, that card. I really like Branching Paths. That's one of the greatest additions over the last couple sets to the Wild format, because if any class can, or if any format can use that flexibility to its fullest extent, it would be all the Druid decks out here in Wild. That sometimes you're playing Token Druid and Branching Path is either a refill to your hand or a poor man's Savage Roar to help push games through. And in this deck, it works as both a greater healing potion as well as a way to dig deeper into the deck, an arcane intellect, basically, that'll get you to all the spells that you need to finish the game out.
It's a very flexible card indeed. bananaramic now with 3 of the pieces to just be able to combo Dab. And deck lists are open. bananaramic knows that Dab is running only Explosive Runes and a copy of Ice Block, so you never have to worry about Counterspell. You never have to worry about Potion of Polymorph. Taking the absolute safest line of play, though, it's maybe not going to end the game as quickly as simply sticking a Malygos that turn would have, but bananaramic also just knows there is absolutely nothing Dab can do to kill him from 30 life.
Going back to the primordial days of Hearthstone competitive.
Primordial.
Remember that Burn Mage was, especially with Pyroblast when it used to cost 8 mana and things like that, was like, that was a very popular Burn Mage deck. The hardest matchup for it was Control Warrior, simply because Control Warrior could get up to 20, 30 armor on top of its health and just be outside of range of even something like Alessandraza dropping you into lethal. So I think Bananaramic's trying to create that again, where even if something like, I don't know, even if something like Alessandraza could drop him really low, when you have another 15, 20, 30 armor on top of that, it doesn't matter.
Control Warrior versus Freeze Mage used to be the most polarizing matchup in the game of Hearthstone. Freeze Mage had maybe a 10% chance to win that game. It happened, but literally the Control Warrior just needed to hit armor up every single turn, and they pretty much win the game. Now, unfortunately, Warrior is unable to gain even as much armor as a Mage. Mage has Arcane Artificer, Druid has Malfurion the Pestilent and Branching Paths. It seems like armor has become a global mechanic, and Warrior is the class that got left out.
Bananaramic gave a little fist pump there when Dab fireballed his minion. He's like, great. Like, as long as you're doing that, you're not killing me. And he kind of fist pumped. I think he realized that the game was pretty much locked up for him.
Just the Coon for 10 armor here from Bananaramic. The Forgotten King can come down essentially for free and then refresh your mana crystals, so that Bananaramic could have played Nourish and even Faceless Manipulator if he wants to. But again, you don't have to end the game. If you just never die, you win the game.
And it's psychological warfare, too. Look at Dab. Dab's leaning back in his chair. He's like, oh, my God, is this game over yet?
Dab, you can end this game whenever you want to.
Yeah,
you have that power.
Crazy fact. You might not know this, Cora. There's a concede button.
I've never used that in my entire life ever. That would be silly. Gotta give it to Dab. He's continuing to fight as best as he possibly can in this game, thinking that at any moment in time, Alaneth may potentially bring him back into this game. I don't think that is the reality here, though. Even if Alaneth is found, Bananaramic still going to be in such an advantageous position. But Bananaramic is running out of threats of his own now. So maybe that is something to consider. The Malagos is gone. The Forgotten King is gone. There's not actually a lot of pressure that Bananaramic can make as well.
And yeah, I'm surprised that even maybe this is Bananaramic's, one of his first major tournaments, if probably the biggest tournament he's ever played in. I can imagine the nerves getting the better of you and being the first game of the first round, just playing as safe as humanly possible. I'm pretty sure, as you mentioned, he could have just Coon, got the mana back, Nourish, Faceless Manipulate. He would have won the game anyways. But he's really just wanting to play it as safe as absolutely humanly possible because... Well, why, right? Like, why risk it if you already have the game at a pretty much 100% win rate?
Okay, but here's the thing that I'm seeing now. Bananaramic played the Forgotten King, played Malagos. Both were killed by Dab. That leaves him with Aviana and this Faceless Manipulator as the only threats left in the deck. A lot of what Bananaramic has left available to him is draw. He has 2 Ultimate Infestations left. He's played both of the Nourishes. And Dab has more cards left in deck than Bananaramic does. So even though Bananaramic's sitting at 40 life right now, maybe fatigue becomes a factor. Maybe Dab just doesn't play Alaneth, and knowing that Bananaramic doesn't have any pressure of his own, just takes this one to fatigue. But then Bananaramic at any point in time can stop armoring up with the hero power and just start dealing 3 damage. So I think that that's the point we've come to. Bananaramic's out of pressure, so eventually he's just going to need to deal 3 per turn, and in 7 turns now, Dab will be dead.
I think that's right. He did draw an Ultimate Infestation. It looks like there's enough cards left in that deck to at least play one of them, just to get a 5/5 on the board and force your opponent to do something about it. Like, Fireball was already used on a 4/6 earlier in the game, so now that 5/5 is actually kind of reasonable as a threat, simply because, like, you're probably not going to Fireball it. And now that he has no cards in hand, you can really put that pressure on it where he has to react, and you're still far enough away from fatigue where it's not a threat. But that's very good insight, Cora, that really, you're right. Like, there's so few threats in the combo Druid deck, and a lot of them are already dead, that you could probably drag it out. Like, if this wasn't Alaneth Mage, but was some other long-term drag-it-out deck, might be able to go to fatigue and pull it out. Like Priest, like like some sort of like slow control Priest deck would have been able to do that.
If this was a secret mage that ran Firelands Portal, for instance, I think we'd be looking at even just a very different scenario for Dab. A lot of this deck's engine comes from the Flame Wakers. And the Flame Wakers were played very early on. They were killed very early on, so now Dab doesn't have that to rely on to make his burn spells even stronger, but I don't know. This is not as straightforward, not as cut and dry as it seemed. I do still think Bananaramic's going to take this one, but Dab definitely was correct to play this out.
Bananaramic gives a little shrug, though. I think he started to realize, like, ooh, maybe I played that a little closer than I should have. He gave a little shrug as he realized he was running low on cards. Alneth is going to come out, though, at the exact right time. If you were ever going to just say, all right, we're drawing cards and going to try to get back into this game, now's the time to do it. But it might be too little too late, as Bananaramic is now entering Fatigue, but with a 5/5 and the 3 hero power attack every turn. Definitely can't play the other Ultimate Infestation.
No, you will. Nah.
You could Faceless the 5/5 if you really wanted to, or you could Aviana then Faceless, because your opponent's not going to, like, you know, he doesn't have Flame Strike or anything.
As long as Bananaramic doesn't naturalize his own 5/5.
Okay.
I think he is won this game.
Just thinking about it. Maybe I should naturalize my own 5/5.
I don't think so. In a world. Nah, I'm trying to think if there's anything that Dab can pick up off of this Primordial Glyph. An additional Ice Block would keep him in this a little bit longer.
There's only one in the deck, though, isn't there?
Yeah, the one that's in the deck has been procced now from Bananaramic. So Glyph giving another Ice Block, but Banaramic's not drawing enough cards per turn for Fatigue to be a factor here.
Right. Firelands, though, exactly what you were mentioning, can at least get that 5/5 off the board, and if you can Frostbolt... Oh, no, if he Firelands the 5/5 and then Frostbolts the hero, you would stay alive one more turn. Oh, is there there's
Living Roots or
hand.
Ultimate Infestation. Nah, nothing that Dab can do, but Bananaramic correctly identifying the turn where he had to essentially stop armoring up. You were at 40 life. You had more than enough health to survive for the rest of that game, and instead needed to start going face. Not a lot of threats left in the deck for Bananaramic. 3 damage a turn, even though Dab had 24 life, and it's going to take 8 turns for you to even pop a block with just the 3 damage per turn. Eventually, it's going to add up, and you are going to get there. So Bananaramic going to take game number 1 with that combo Druid deck. Not really operating as a combo druid, instead operating as just an anti-aggro defensive stall type deck, but that's more than enough just to take out the threats from that mage deck. And now Dab left with the mage, his own druid, and a paladin, Bananaramic on that warlock and the priest. So 5 unique classes left overall. You were saying we're not seeing all 9 classes in the tournament. There could be more diversity class-wise in the tournament, but still, I think we are seeing a good variety of deck archetypes at the very least.
Definitely, because Bananaramic, as you might see that Warlock class symbol and go, oh, more giants, it's actually not. He's playing a more traditional demon control Warlock deck. No giants in the entire deck, as far as I can tell, unless the deck list is incredibly cut off and there's a bunch of giants under it, which actually might be, no, that might actually be the case, because I see a Possessed Lackey in his deck list, but Mal'Ganis is... You know, oh, actually, there's my guess. I don't know. This might be a giant deck list. It might not be. Nah. But it doesn't look like it to me. It looks like a classic Tal'Daran, like demon. Yeah. Oh, actually, there's a cube. I'm sorry, I missed the cube altogether. So you're right. It is actually cube lock, not giant lock. Good eye, Cora. But
even cube locks can run mountain giants.
Yeah, if they really want to. But I liked your analysis in that last game of there was a way for Dab to turn that around, even if that was like a 5 or 10% chance for Dab. When there's this much on the line, you have to take those opportunities, right? You can't just go, I've lost, just hit concede, because the greatest players can play towards that 10% line of play, and if you can turn around and win, then hey, good enough.
Especially at this important of a tournament for these two players. You never want to give up before it is actually all over. Bananaramic with this priest. It is a combo priest deck. So Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, OTK, and Dab back on the aggressive mage deck. Bananaramic essentially will be playing the defensive deck yet again, just needing to survive. But if at any point Bananaramic can stick a minion with a high amount of health, I believe 6 is what the majority of the minions in the deck have, the operatives, the Twilight Guardians, then double Divine Spirit, Inner Fire suddenly just wins the game. So Dab does need to be careful to not allow Bananaramic to actually stick anything on the board.
Great turn 1 Twilight Whelp. We've seen that in a lot of these priest lists, but this is the first time that someone's actually had it in their opening hand and been able to get it down and start to pressure the board. Suddenly, Mad Scientist doesn't look nearly as impressive when you have to deal with a 2/5 that can heal So the Mad Science will probably come off the board here. It kind of depends on whether bananaramic wants to start pushing face or whether you want to board control. Unlike actually the priest deck that bananaramic is playing, leaving a 2/2 on the board, the mage deck can't do anything with it, right? Like he's not going to buff it up or play Velen's Chosen or any of that things you have to be worried about.
No, certainly not. But I do like this. Bananaramic, again, playing the defensive deck in this case. Just silence the Mad Scientist, ensure that Dab doesn't get any value off of that card. A hit and a heal. Take it slow. Bananaramic can afford to do that. And Dab forced to Forgotten Torch this Twilight Whelp, even knowing that Bananaramic can just heal it again and go face. But Dab knows that Forgotten Torching the face probably doesn't do anything.
And what a turn of events here, because even though Bananaramic is the, I don't know, what do you call it? Like, he is the aggressor here. But I'm sorry, Bananaramic is the slower deck. He's the defensive deck. He is playing the role of the aggressor simply by getting out that early 2/5 and cleaning up all the little stuff that's on Dab's board. That Forgotten Torch had to set up for this Flame Waker, and thank goodness for Dab, as you can see him nodding his head like, oh, if those both went face, he was going to be in trouble. But taking out the 2/5, getting it off the board, he can now start to try to turn the corner and attack. Bananaramic's having a blast. He's smiling, full row of teeth happy about this. I wonder what he's so happy about.
Dab needed to hit 4 out of 5 of those missiles onto the Twilight Whelp. I think Bananaramic's smile isn't so much a smile of happiness, it's a smile of course he did it. Of course.
Of course. Still in a great position, though, because even if he trades this Flame Waker here with your Dustbreaker, like, that's an Alaneth Mage with nothing on board. That's pretty gross.
Oh, yeah, Bananaramic's perfectly happy right now.
Yeah. So it looks like Draconoid Operative is going to come down next turn. He's got double Draconoid in hand, so one will trigger the other. And if all he needs to do is maybe draw another dragon, he would actually...
Nether Spite's a great pickup as well. That's going to give you another dragon for your second operative.
What kind of cards does Draconoid Operative want to steal out of the mage deck? Like, you probably don't want Alaneth because you can't play your cards that quickly. But even something like a Fireball would be pretty useful.
I'm happy with a lot of the cards that Dab has. Fireball, Frostbolt, anything I can use to clear the board later on. Primordial Glyph, even though it's netting priest cards for Bananaramic, that's pretty sweet.
Lotheb?
Lotheb, I don't hate a Lotheb.
Oh, it's a Roaring Torch! Oh, Heartbreaker. It's better than a Fireball.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. If Bananaramic ever gets to the point where he can Divine Spirit Inner Fire and is just a little bit off from lethal, there's your Roaring Torch. It's never a bad thing to have some reach from hand, especially when it is really discounted.
And especially out of class, right? Like, Dab knows there is a mage card in Bananaramic's hand, but you're not necessarily playing around the one Roaring Torch that isn't even in your deck list, right? Dab could be looking at his own deck list, being like, all right, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. He's probably not thinking, oh, there's a 3-cost 6-damage spell in his hand now. But he takes the Mana Worm instead. Why do you think Mana Worm there?
Well, Mana Worm is simply a minion that Bananaramic can play on the board. It has 3 health, which is actually pretty valuable for Bananaramic. If these dragons are forced to be played out and get cleared off by Dab, then Mana Worm plus Velen's Chosen, Divine Spirit Inner Fire still is great on the Mana Worm. It's also just something to challenge on the board.
I can't tell if that was a mistake or not, but Bananaramic slammed down that Draconoid Operative with no dragon in hand, so he didn't actually get the Battle Cry, but it is a 5/6 going up against, it's going up against the 5/5 Lotheb, so it's still good on board, but I can't imagine that's where you want to be, playing Draconoids without Battle Cries.
It is not ideal for sure. If I were Bananaramic, I would be very hesitant to play Draconoid Operative before that Nether Spite Historian in hand, but ultimately, Bananaramic just needs to check the minions on board for Dab, needs to get this Lotheb off of the board, and Draconoid Operative was the only way that he could do it. So it was a sacrifice that he had to make. It feels bad, though.
So we're looking actually at
a
few interesting choices here. He's got Inner Fire, Divine Spirit combo, got double Velen's Chosen, that if you could somehow get those Velen's Chosens out. The big problem is only minion, the Nether Spite Historian, now also doesn't have a Battle Cry because the Draconoid's out of hand. So do you play a 1/3 and try to Velen's Chosen it and hope for the best? Looks like he's gonna...
Nah, you Potion of Madness and you Velen's that Blood Mage, and you're running that into Lotheb.
Okay, yep, and that would take... Oh, Counterspell comes out! So that plan isn't gonna happen. That really hurts because even though, you're not necessarily taking the troop away, but you're also losing that card draw from the Death Rattle of Thalnos.
Yeah, bananaramic could have actually Potion of Madness, the Blood Mage. Velen's Chosen Inner Fire if he really just wants to clear off that Loatheb, because Velen's Chosen itself only puts Blood Mage at a 3 attack instead of 4 attack threshold to clear the Loatheb. So I think that is what he was going for, willing to sacrifice these combo pieces just to clear the board, but getting punished by that counterspell. It was a counterspell that bananaramic could not have possibly known was there because it was generated from the primordial glyph.
Okay.
So it was a risk that he had to take, but he's getting punished for it now.
I think it's going to be, it's going to be Historian, Velen's Chosen, Inner Fire now to just make a 7/7. That 5/4 Loatheb is the last thing that Dab really has as a threat, unless he drips an Alanith out of the top of his deck. If you can just kill that 5/4 and keep on trucking, you can heal back up to 30. You'll eventually draw into some more combo pieces and can turn this game around.
So if I'm Dab here, I'm running in Blood Mage Thalnos first.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'm trying to draw into something that can save my Loatheb on board.
I feel like the 4, if you do the 4 damage for, because you want to save the Loatheb,
Yes,
I guess
I want to save Loatheb. Trying to find Roaring Torch, I'm trying to find Glyph. AI is nice, gets you closer to that burn.
Oh, you want the Roaring Torch, not the Forgotten Torch. But this might actually work, because he's going to be able to cast Forgotten Torch and Arcane Missiles.
But if you miss, man, you are sad. So you missiles first. Oh, not even going to go for it.
Well, now he's got a 3/2, right? So now with the 3/2, it's a little more, it's like you still have a threat. Is it as good as the 5/4 Loatheb? Like, no, of course not. But it allows him to keep stuff in hand and maybe turn it around here.
So with the missiles, you needed 2 of the missiles to hit into the Netherspite Historian, plus the Forgotten Torch and a Hero Power to clean it up. It was not likely, but it was also more likely than it was unlikely, I suppose. I don't know. That's a tough call. I certainly don't blame Dab for not wanting to risk it.
Well, suddenly it's turned around. Bananaramic's down to just 1 card in hand, so I think even though it's 8 cost, you might just Fireball here for 8 and then trade the Sorcerer's Apprentice into afterwards, and then you have 3 cards in hand, and they're sitting with just 1.
Yeah, but it's 3 cards that don't, again, do a lot. Dab needs to find that Alaneth, because all he has is burn that doesn't deal repetitive damage. He would much rather have minions on board right now than just the burn in hand. And looking at Bananaramic's Priest, he's got pretty weak top decks as well, actually. With another Spite Historian in hand, any dragon that he draws now will be likely a significant board presence. So that's Bananaramic. He's looking for a dragon, and Dab looking for that Alaneth.
Going back like several turns to that naked Draconoid turn where it's just like a 5/6, like a pit fighter.
Yeah.
I almost wonder if he should have instead gone Netherspite Historian and looked to pick up a 4-cost dragon, because if you can get like a Twilight Guardian or a Twilight Drake or anything like that, it's about the same as playing a 5-mana 5/6. And I think there's a pretty decent chance of you getting one of those, because you also have the option of picking up something like Dustbreaker at the 4-mana slot for Priest.
That's true. There are a good amount of 4-mana dragons that Bananaramic could have found there. Also, just going back to that Draconid operative, taking that Mana Worm. Bananaramic could have taken the Forgotten Torch, and then maybe would have had that as a tool to clean up minions afterwards, to clean up that Loatheb, for instance, and instead of having to stack onto the Netherspite Historian, could have just had the Forgotten Torch, or the Roaring Torch, excuse me. So a couple of decisions here from both of these players that could have potentially changed the course of this game. Dab choosing just to give up the Loatheb instead of taking the risk on the Arcane Missiles.
And now this 2/3 on the board, as silly as it is, kind of a threat, because nothing in Bananaramic's hand is going to deal with it right away, so Bananaramic's trying to build up a board state, but with Dab having not just the tempo, but also Arcane Missiles and his Hero Power, he's going to be able to kill those 2/3s and maybe stay alive with like a 2/1 and continue the pressure.
I do wonder if it was just correct for Bananaramic to
just play something.
Play a minion and Divine Spirit. Play the Cleric and Divine Spirit, but he does find a dragon. That is exactly what he was looking for. Hoping to find something big here, but Duskbreaker as well just cleans up the Mana Worm and the Medivh's Valet.
And yeah, Netherspite Historian's going to absorb that Explosive Runes. Great card to take it, right? 1/3, lot of health, low cost, and now it's time for Duskbreaker and then Twilight Guardian to come out. And even though it's a 2/6, we're way past the stage where you need that battle cry. You just need beef on board.
It's a 2/6 that I can turn into a 2/12, and it doesn't matter if it's 2 attack or 3 attack, because Inner Fire is the almighty equalizer.
Radiant Elemental and Northshire Cleric. Actually, Northshire Cleric now has a really big role to play in this matchup because with a 2/6 on board, Northshire Cleric becomes a huge source of card draw to help close this game out. It's going to be a rush between, can bananaramic redraw everything using that, or is he going to, or is Dab going to draw the Alaneth first? Dab gets his lucky dog out.
A puppy has entered the game, people. This is a game changer. Now Dab has an emotional support pup. And this pup looks like he knows how to land some arcane missiles right here.
Every puppy looks like it could play Giant's Lock. They just got the blank face on, like, yeah.
They're all good dogs,
Witch on 5.
Ronnie. They are all good dogs.
I'm a cat man myself.
That's okay. I have a cat too.
I went there. My cat plays Pirate Warrior.
I have no preferences. Ooh. That makes perfect sense, actually. Cats are aggressive individuals.
So here comes a 2/9. Yeah, I guess he could turn it into a 2/18. There's still no inner fire. We already used one of the 2 inner fires in the deck, but again, at this point,
2/18 is eventually gonna get there.
Yeah, like at this point, it really is just even only having 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage a turn is enough because there's just not enough in Dab's deck to turn it around. Roaring Torch here is going to take out what, a 3/4 or maybe the 1/6. Frostbolt plus Hero Power can take out one of the Talon Priests, but you're still taking 5 damage a turn and not really getting anywhere with your game plan.
I wonder about the longevity of this mage deck. There is no real repetitive minion damage. It's not like a secret mage in standard format, for instance, which runs Kirin Tor mages, Cabal Crystal runners, Firelands portals. It already is not the strongest deck on board, but it has significantly more board presence than this mage deck from Dab. This really is all in on Flamewaker and combine many spells to just deal incredible amounts of damage very quickly and end the game. And Dab has been playing these Flamewakers relatively liberally, if that is the case.
Yes. Definitely. I think you kind of have to when you're, I mean, this, remember we mentioned earlier that if you play Ultimate Infestation on 10, your win rate jumps up dramatically.
Yes.
Flamewaker is that for Alaneth Mage. If I can stick a Flamewaker on 3 and you don't do something about it that turn, the win rate just jumps up into the like 3 out of 4 times. So I think it's right to aggressively play it, but just shout out to all the other wild players who are so aware of the power of Alaneth Mage that they're largely packing answers to 4 health things on turn 3.
So Dab still no Alaneth. 10 damage maximum represented in 1 turn with Roaring Torch, Frostbolt, and a Hero Power. So he does have a couple of draws here that can get him over this 18, soon to be 20 health threshold for bananaramic. A Pyroblast in particular would actually just give Dab a 2-turn lethal representation. But I don't think he has Pyroblast in the deck, so it has to be Primordial Glyph, which we have already seen one of at the very least.
And once again, bananaramic taking his time, surgical precision, taking apart his opponent without exposing himself to any sort of danger.
I think if I'm Dab, the ice block is still available, but you know your block's getting popped next turn. I think I'm going with all the burn to face this turn, and you're hoping that you draw Primordial Glyph into Pyroblast if there is still the second glyph remaining in the deck.
I'm surprised he didn't Frostbolt there just to get him down to 8, because Frostbolt, then even if he heals to 10, you could theoretically, rip Glyph into Pyroblast, but he can't do it now this turn, because if bananaramic heals up to 13, then next turn you can either like Glyph Blast, but he's still going to be at 3. So I'm just surprised that he held the Frostbolt there and just sat on 3 mana. I'm not really sure what holding the Frostbolt's going to do for you there.
Is there any other card that Dab can pick up off the top that combined with the Frostbolt gets him to that 13 points of damage? Arcane Intellect into... He doesn't have multiple Roaring Torches left. No. There was no real reason to play that Mad Scientist, right? Because Dab knew that both Explosive Runes had been played and that Ice Block is active.
And that's the challenge you mentioned earlier. Only 3 secrets in the deck. Well, suddenly those Mad Scientists become much stinkier top decks near the late game because you just don't have the same volume of secrets. So here we go. Arcane Intellect going to try to buy a little more time, but I guess he's hoping for what, like another Ice Block? I'm not even sure what he could do here. Yep, self-bolt.
Got nothing.
Complete quests. Play mage cards. 4 out of 50. There we go. Got a little closer to his quest, at least.
Feels pretty bad. No repetitive damage. Even though there were like 3 or 4 turns in there where Dab and bananaramic were just doing absolutely nothing, where Dab was just pinging face, bananaramic was just healing face, and desperately hoping that he draws a dragon, that Dab draws Alaneth. Dab never got it. Dab has not had repetitive damage. There are Mana Worms, there are Medivh's Valets, there are Mad Scientists, but they're being cleared off too quickly by his opponents for that to get in any chip damage, for the burn to be enough follow-up afterwards. So now Dab down 0-2. bananaramic just needs to find a win with this Cube Warlock and still has 3 matchups to get the job done. So even though in Conquest format, it doesn't necessarily matter what deck Dab elects to go with next because he needs to win with all 3 of his decks against this Warlock, I do think bringing the Mage out is fine.
Right.
It's probably going to be your best shot against a Cube Warlock. Burn Mage in general, because it ignores Void Lords, right? It ignores the taunt minions that the Cube Warlock can put on the board, all the damage sent directly to face. But then you have to factor in the fact that Warlock does have a significant amount of healing. You have Dark Packs, you have Amethyst Spellstones, you have Mistress of Mixtures occasionally. It's a lot of life gain resource for this Cube Warlock deck. Malygos as well in the late game can be a huge deterrent from a lethal setup for the Mage deck from Dab. So I do think Dab's probably just going to stick on this game plan, go for that 3rd times the charm mentality with the Mage against this Warlock from bananaramic. But no, I am wrong. It is the Druid deck from Dab, and this also makes perfect sense because it is that combo Druid, and for the same reason that Burn Mage is good against Warlock, combo Druid's good against Warlock. Draw through your deck, you've got plenty of time, and once you find those combo pieces, you win the game.
Okay. Now, explain to me, as somebody who maybe hasn't seen the combo Druid as much, what is the combo here? Tell me the combo one at a time. Oh, look at that pup! Oh, he's hugging him, he's rocking him.
I'd like to focus on the real importance at hand, and that is Pup.
Oh, Pup's gone. Pup didn't like it. Pup didn't like being a prop.
Pup was waving to the audience, giving Dab a little bit of luck. And now Pup is gone and Dab is back on his own. But that is okay. Coaching is not allowed. We don't want any cheaties here at the Wild Open. And Pup coaching is bridging towards cheaties a little bit.
Save that for the collegiate series.
But this combo from Dab. So, in essence, Warlock can heal a lot, but they can never heal above 30 life. So, Dab will ramp up very quickly, get to Ultimate Infestation, draw through his entire deck, and then you have Aviana, the Forgotten King, into Malygos, Faceless Manipulator, Moonfires, Swipes, Living Roots, whatever you want. Chuck them right at face, and you're good to go.
So yeah, let's go through this. You're going real fast for me, Cora. So let's say it's a 9-cost.
Fast.
9-cost Aviana makes all of your minions cost 1.
Yes.
So with the remaining 1, you play a 1-cost
Forgotten King,
who then refreshes all
your
10.
Mana. Yes.
And then you play Malygos for 1, and then spend the remaining 9 just on various and assorted spells that deal a bajillion damage.
If you have, sometimes you don't need the Faceless Manipulators, even depending on the life total that your opponent is at. You may or may not need the Faceless Manipulators, but Malygos itself just gives +5 spell damage. So with the remaining 9 mana that you have, you can Faceless. Moonfires are free. Living Roots just cost 1, and then the swipes obviously are 4. So you have enough mana remaining to usually get the job done. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take Dab a lot of cards to get to that point. But this is a combo deck. This is a deck that, in essence, if you draw through your entire deck, much like Quest Mage, for instance, you will win the game.
An interesting tech choice here for bananaramic is he's running double Dirty Rats. And because Dab's deck is so based on these very specific one-of legendaries that need to be cast at the right time, Dirty Ratting out like a Faceless Manipulator or even like an early Coon or Aviana when you can kill it right away is going to completely disrupt Dab's deck. So when bananaramic feels like he's got a little bit of control out of the game or has maybe like a juiced-up Spellstone but nothing to use it on, it might be worth it to kind of free roll a Dirty Rat and see what you pull out there. And if you pull out something like Coon and get rid of it, it's a lot harder for that combo to ever be executed.
These Dirty Rats are the absolute best tool that bananaramic has against Dab's deck. It's not just something that you want to say, oh, I've got a free 2 mana, I'm going to play this Dirty Rat. Oh, no. bananaramic wants to wait until he is reasonably certain that Dab has the important combo pieces in hand, then play the Dirty Rat, and then immediately remove whatever valuable minion is in play from Dab. So Dab already has Malygos in hand. bananaramic, if Dirty Rat comes out and pulls the Malygos and bananaramic can kill it immediately, suddenly Dab's win condition is gone.
bananaramic is going to go, though, for a little combo win of his own here. Possessed Lackey comes down, and that is The only one in the deck, so a singleton here, and it's looking like it's going to go after a single Mal'Ganis or 2 Void Lords. So bananaramic obviously has his main win condition, which is the whole cube combo, but now he has the ability to, if this thing dies this turn and you just rip a turn 4 Mal'Ganis, you're in really good shape there to start putting pressure on Dab, forcing Dab to either remove it or do some sort of combo thing very soon. Or he could cube it.
Cube it.
Yeah, pull out all 3. Pull out both Void Lords and a Mal'Ganis. Why not?
So much that you can do from Bananaramic's perspective. And Dab, very, very smart decision here, knowing that Bananaramic doesn't actually have a lot of pressure, but the minion that is represented from the death rattle of this possessed lackey needs to die, and the easiest way that Dab can do that is with these poisonous spiders. A lot of the time you will see the scarabs taken off of Malfurion the Pestilent, but the spiders are so good against control. Hellfire, however, going to make quick work of that. And now this Void Caller, excuse me, is going to pull actually nothing from hand for Bananaramic, as there are no demons yet.
I feel like Bananaramic made a misplay, though. He should have run his Possessed Lackey first into the taunt, dropping it down to a 3-4, and then Hellfire making it a 3-1. Instead, he just played Hellfire with Possessed Lackey on board, and that gives up the 2 damage that he could have used to fight for the board a little better.
It does. So from Bananaramic's perspective, the demons that he is potentially pulling out are the Void Lords, the Void Caller, and the Mal'Ganis. In that case, the Void Caller and the Void Lord clear off the Ironwood Golem without the addition of that 2 extra damage, and it keeps their minions a little bit healthier. So no real reason the damage doesn't change any of the math here for Bananaramic, as there are no Mortal Coils in the deck in particular.
That makes sense. Interesting, though, is that Dab, we talked about this actually, myself and That's Admirable at the start of the show, that sometimes you see that Void Caller and you don't know what to do. Like, you don't know if they have a demon in hand or not. Bananaramic did not have a demon in hand. That would have been a great opportunity to get rid of that 3-4 and turn off one of the cheatiest things that his deck can do, but you just can't call a bluff. If I saw a Warlock player with 8 cards in hand, obviously you're expecting at least one of the big drops in there, but it was just one of those windows of opportunity where Bananaramic didn't have it.
Yeah, I am never killing off that Void Caller willingly. Always have to assume the worst, have to assume that Bananaramic has a big bad demon in the hand that he will then get for free off of that Void Caller. Instead, Dab is going on the aggressive. He doesn't have a lot of minion pressure in the deck, but with 3 damage per turn from the hero power, with repetitive damage from the Ironwood Golem, and then even just a Malagos and a Living Roots and a Moonfire suddenly is going to be lethal here for Dab. So Bananaramic in a very, very scary position right now.
He's going to go ahead and Void Caller, but he's not going to get the Death Rattle from that. He's going to Dark Pact and get 2 more Void Callers, putting himself back up to 19 health outside of at least what he can assume to be damage range right now. Dab is putting together his combo slowly but surely, but he knows at least now that Bananaramic does not have any demons in hand. You would have seen one come out from the cube. So now he knows that those are 2 just 3-4s. Might be a good opportunity. I guess he's going to Poison Seeds them right now, thinking about it. Could also swipe one and attack the other.
This is a very rare opportunity where Deb has perfect information.
Yeah.
He knows from last turn that Bananaramic has no demons in the hand. The Poison Seeds can be very, very useful against a board of bigger stuff for Bananaramic, but again, Dab knows that Bananaramic doesn't have that bigger stuff. So might as well shut down the Void Callers now on the off chance that Bananaramic top decks a demon, and it saves the swipe and the hero power damage for Dab to, again, just go face with.
Gonna draw 1 card. Oh, time's starting to run out. Gonna draw a 2nd card, and then he's not gonna use his hero power to take out a 2-2. I guess he's going to leave them on the board, because if Bananaramic continues to develop his board, putting out 1 or 2 more minions this turn, well, then suddenly that Spreading Plague on the far left looks real good.
Dab is just a couple of cards away, 1 card away, that Aviana actually, from having his combo represented.
And he's got the Ultimate Infestation in hand, so if he just uses that as a board control kind of thing, he can start to draw more cards, but he's got to get some of these other cards out of his hand. The problem with these sort of combo decks and Ultimate Infestation is that Malagos, Manipulator, Coon are all just taking up spots in your hand, and if you draw 5, you're going to start fatiguing and burning yourself out.
Yeah, Dab can't actually play any of those cards until that moment when he has lethal represented with them. And Bananaramic, again, 2 Dirty Rats in hand. He, at any point in time, could play those Dirty Rats and pull one of these very important combo pieces from Dab's hand. He doesn't have a way to kill off the minion that he pulls just yet, though. So he may just want to land the Sylvanas this turn and try to leverage that a little bit, but...
I agree with Sylvanas because that sets you up for a Dirty Rat next turn. You can sell Sylvanas, and if he doesn't kill Sylvanas, then you just go in. It looks like he's going to... Oh, no, he's going to run out of time in cards. No, gets Umbra down instead.
Okay, this also sets up for Dirty Rat Sylvanas next turn. If Dab doesn't clear off this Umbra, then you're in business. If Dab does clear off this Umbra, well... then at least that's some damage that isn't going to your face.
If he can survive for one, if the Umbra can survive like one more round too, then he has the option to go Sylvanas, Dirty Rat, Dark Pact, killing the Sylvanas and stealing whatever the big combo piece is. If it's something like Malagos, where on your side of the board it's equally good. Defile becomes a pretty gross card when Malagos is around.
Yes, that is a fantastic point. I've never actually seen that interaction, but that is pretty silly. But Dab very wisely going to clear off the Spirit Singer Umbra, knowing that it activates too many synergies for bananaramic, and he'd rather just not have to deal with that.
You could go you could drop 2 of the spiders to 1/3s and then Hellfire, but honestly, bananaramic is so low that Hellfire becomes, I would say, a double-edged sword, but really just a reverse-edged sword. It hurts you so much more than it hurts your opponent.
It's just not very good. Bananaramic doesn't look like he's not winning this in the long game. The longer the game goes on, the more likely it is that Dab draws into the combo pieces and just finishes the game. So bananaramic right now just needs to set up a scenario where he can play these Dirty Rats, pull out combo pieces from Dab's hand, and then kill them right away and shut down the potential of an OTK spell damage turn from Dab. He doesn't have the mana or the cards right now. Potentially we could see a Dirty Rat and a Twisting Nether on 10, but he's not quite there yet.
I am so glad that Twisting Nether sees play. Like do you remember when we were just in like kind of basic classic and like goblins versus gnomes and the early sets? Twisting Nether was not played. It was just not seen really much at all. And it's one of the coolest animations in the whole game. And somehow this card that was too bad to be played in the classic set has evolved into a great card in Control Warlock.
There's the Aviana, but now Dab doesn't have the spells.
He just used Swipe last turn to stabilize. So now he can get back up to it. It might be worth it, though, because, well, maybe he does. You have to do it this turn, right? He can always wait another turn or two.
Oh, he absolutely 100% wants to continue to wait. Branching Paths can draw him 2 cards, and pretty much he just needs 2 burn spells, right? So Eviana, Forgotten King, Malagos, Faceless Manipulator puts +10 spell damage on the board. So Living Roots then deals 12, Moonfire deals 11. There's your Moonfire. Okay. We need 1 more.
I was going to say that all he needed to do really was, I mean, another thing he could have done was, if he wanted to play it safer, was draw and then +1 attack. If you go draw, then +1 attack, you can kill the 2/1, run the remaining, like, spider into Sylvanas, and then attack with face, like use your hero power to hit Sylvanas, and at least get Sylvanas off the board before trying to do any combos. But instead it looks like he's just going to set up for next turn's big combo kill.
Okay.
An 11 damage Moonfire, not bad.
There's a Spellstone for bananaramic. Again, great name. I'm trying to see here if bananaramic has to just YOLO double Dirty Rats and a Dark Pact ever, or...
I think that's definitely a especially because you can take out one of the 1/5s first. You have to take a combo piece out. Oh, that's like the least important of them, probably.
See Dab breathe a sigh of relief. Bananaramic can go with the second Dirty Rat here if he wants to, but does he want to?
It's too bad you can't set up a better Defile here, because like you have 3, 5, 6. So you need to somehow get like he doesn't have a Kobold Guardian or a Kobold Librarian in hand to start the chain.
No Defile clear available.
And the Spellstones
pulls.
He's just got to
survive.
survive.
1 and 3 for 2 out of 3 get the Forgotten King or the Aviana, and that's pretty big. But if you pull the Malagos, you are just dead.
And Sylvanas is looking pretty stinky right now because with all the spiders on board, it's a pretty low chance to actually pull the piece you want. So he's going to sit there and heal back up. Drawing a card and then healing it back is pretty, you know, especially because I think he could have drawn first and then done the Spellstone to heal 2 more life.
Okay, so +5 spell damage. Aviana, Forgotten King, Malagos, Moonfire, Living Roots. That's going to be...
We're playing some wild Hearthstone right now.
Still just a little bit...
Oh, he's going to 6 and
shy.
cycle.
We've only got 13 damage here. Bananaramic at 16 life. Well, okay, now we've just got lethal. Hero Power to the face, Scarabs to the face, the Living Roots, and the Moonfire. Dab has gotten there. Bananaramic needed to get a better pull off of that Dirty Rat last turn. Very fortunate for Dab that it was the Faceless Manipulator that was actually pulled, but this is what this Druid deck wants to do. It is so incredibly effective in this matchup, and it's just a really cool deck to see. This is one of my favorite Wild decks because it's one of those decks that doesn't just port over from Standard to Wild. It's a deck that you can only play in Wild because Aviana is not a Standard legal card anymore, and that is the catalyst for that combo.
I'm so glad that you walked me through the combo because we got to see it exactly as you walked through it. You got the whole doot, 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 and then Moonfire Living Roots for the win. 14, 15 damage out of hand plus the attack. That's pretty nuts. It's hard to stay at a high enough life total where a combo Druid can't kill you if they get the double Moonfire, double Living Roots, anything like that.
Yeah, and that was pretty much the minimum amount of damage that deck can deal. With the 2 Faceless Manipulators, obviously you add an additional 10 spell damage, and then you're looking at the Moonfire that doesn't deal 6, but that deals 16. So with all of the cards available to that deck, it is an incredible powerhouse. But even still, in that case, Dab had more than enough damage to get the job done, and he's managed to start the climb back into this series, but it is a long road ahead of him. He still has that Mage deck, which has given him some trouble so far, and a Paladin, and it is a Dude Paladin deck. So you've got Dude Paladin, and you've got secret, aggressive Burn Mage style of a deck up against this Cube Warlock.
Calling it now. I think we're going to Game 5. I think Dab's going to play this Alanith Mage deck. He's had some rough games with it already, but hey, it's got to go good for him. It's got to run hot one of these times. So he'll probably play it, win, go 2-2, and then it'll be Dude Paladin versus Cube Block in Game 5. Calling it
Dude Paladin versus Cube Block is about even. It doesn't necessarily feel good to be playing from either perspective, but the removal that the Cube Block has access to with Defile, with Hellfire, with the Twisting Nether, it's just so good. It lines up so well against the Dude Paladin deck. And this Mage deck, again, in theory, should be quite solid against the Warlock, but still doesn't feel too good because the Warlock has Dark Pact. They have Blood Reaver Gul'dan. They have the Spellstone. It's a lot of healing potential from this Warlock deck. So both of these matchups, I'd say relatively even. Dab definitely has a chance. He has at least gotten his first win on the board, and you are correct, Hammy. It's going to be the Mage deck for Dab. Third time could be the charm.
You never know. What I like about it in this case, or I think that, well, we mentioned earlier about the different board clears about Warlock against Dude Paladin. Looking at this Warlock deck, I would not want to run Dude Paladin into this specific list because double Defile, double Hellfire, double Spellstone. Oof. You know, there's a lot going on there. Compared to something like Giant Warlock that is largely pretty defenseless, trying to pull off a game-winning combo, Cube Warlock is a very interactive deck that has a lot of stuff going on.
Dudes against cubes can just feel like running your head into a wall over and over and over again and never, ever getting anything done. It can feel very, very helpless.
Dab would have really loved a Mana Worm. Instead, he's going to have to open up with Mad Scientist here on 2. Doesn't seem to have a very clear follow-up on 3, so hoping to top deck either a good 3-drop, maybe like a Kirin Tor Mage that he can hit explosive runes with.
No Kirin Tor Mages in the deck. So the Arcane Intellect, I guess, is the best that he can hope for
Flamewaker
on turn
maybe?
3 here. Yeah. Want to find that Flamewaker, want to be able to combine it with as many spells as humanly possible. The 3 damage the 3 damage for Warlock is very easy. 4 damage is a little bit more difficult, especially without Mortal Coil in the deck for Bananaramic. Hellfire doesn't get there, and unupgraded Spellstone doesn't get there. So there is potential for Dab to play a Flamewaker and to just have it stick. But I think that Dab also just has the time to amass some of those combo pieces to really make that Flamewaker influential.
Are you implying that I shouldn't be playing Darkbolt in my cube deck?
Darkbolt?
Not Darkbolt. Oh, man, it's so bad I can't remember the name of the card now. The 3-mana deal 4.
Shadow Vault. Ah, no. You should not. Good. You know
I was
what?
like, I literally, as I said Dark Bolt, I'm like, no, that's not the right card. What's the card I'm thinking of? The one that's so bad I don't play it. I'm like, no one's going to get this joke.
Shadow Bolt's a great card. If I'm playing Arena and I see Shadow Bolt,
Fair.
I'm like, sweet, that's
Yes.
pretty good. But no, unfortunately, bananaramic has. This is already a very. It's a pretty planned out deck.
Yeah,
Q-Block,
yeah,
I
I
would
know.
say, is pretty solved in the wild and standard metas. No room for even more removal, but they've got plenty already.
We got another set coming up here soon. You saw the little,
Yeah,
you saw the you know, the images, the little teaser. What do you think that first set's going to be, theme-wise?
I know people are running around potentially with the thought of Cenarian Circle, I think, is what I have heard is the most buzzed about theme. I myself never played a lot of World of Warcraft, so whenever these set reveals come around and everybody's speculating about what the theme might be, I'm just sitting back like, you know what? That sounds cool.
Sweet.
I'm happy with anything because I don't know what anything is. My WoW lore all comes from Hearthstone.
My the only thing I want is that third set to be a troll set. I love trolls. Trolls are my absolute favorite race in all of Hearthstone. I used to play, like, you know, all sorts of different troll classes, and there's somehow 0 trolls in Hearthstone after 4 years. Blizzard, please! And if you made a troll priest, priest is my lowest level class of all my, like, you know, I don't have all of them to 60 yet, and priest is by far the lowest one. If there was a troll priest, I'd play that straight through up to 60.
Yeah. Priest was not my last class to 500 wins, actually. Rogue was, surprisingly enough. I enjoyed Priest, even back when it was not the best deck in the format, and now Priest has been best deck in format for a while. The explosive runes just giving bananaramic the automatic death rattle onto the lackey. The Void Caller coming out again and again! Second game in a row, bananaramic doesn't have an impactful demon in hand for this Void Caller to pull 2 Void Lords and a Mal'Ganis in the deck, and it's the Void Caller that gets pulled off of that lackey.
Bananaramic's face and hand gestures said it all, right? It was just like, there's like the Curb Your Enthusiasm music.
Not a happy banana. That's a brown banana. Fortunately for him, bright side of the situation, he's got a little life gain in hand. He can Kobold Librarian and Spellstone the Loatheb, and then if he wants to, Dark Pact the Void Caller to ensure that he is safe. But now that Dab has that All-in-F active, it's just a matter of time. He's gonna get the damage.
I think he can actually run the Void Caller along with the Spellstone, into Loatheb, and then it pulls the other Void Caller down, which is kind of silly, but at least it keeps you with a little bit of board presence. No, he's just going to go for the 5 damage with the, okay, he goes 5 damage and then
the Spellstone is upgraded by the Librarian, and then I expect bananaramic will probably Dark Pact this Librarian.
Just to be safe, yeah.
Extra super duper safe.
Yeah, because 11 damage is not where you want to be against an Alanith deck. No, he's got it. He's going to actually risk it. He's going to say, go ahead, buddy, take your chances. But I think that's it. That's 9. Oh, that's it. Oh, bananaramic. He opts to not Dark Pact like you said, and that is the difference in this game here as Fireball's going to finish him off against the other Ice Lance instead. So we are going to Game 5. Dab making short work of this and pushing it through, going for that reverse sweep.
That was the matchup that Dab was looking for. That was likely his best shot to win with that mage deck. And in this case, third time was quite literally the charm.
Get that dog back.
Bring back Pup. That's what the audience really wants.
The good luck dog.
We demand Pup. Always. If you have a pup and you're on a stream, we want to see the pups.
All right,
I never don't want to see pups.
What's the meta here? Cats, dogs,
snakes?
Snakes are all right. I like turtles. Turtles, maybe snakes
are good.
Snakes are kind of weird to feed.
Production says rabbits.
Rabbits are, yeah, I'll give you rabbits.
Fans?
Rabbits smell bad, though. But here's what we agree. Like absolute D tier, birds. I hate birds. I don't want birds.
I'm not the biggest bird fan myself, but I have been indoctrinated a little bit to the bird way of life. I have a friend who's had birds her whole life and go visit her occasionally in the city. I'm from Chicago. She lives up there for school. She's got a bird named Mochi, little green bird. My one friend got the bird a tuxedo for Christmas.
That's kind of cute.
And it's just cute.
Birds live to be like 35 years, and they rat you out if you commit crimes near them, so I don't want one as a pet. We're going to Game 5,
Regardless of your pet tier list, we're going to Game 5. And it is this Cube Warlock yet again for bananaramic against this dude Paladin. And like we were saying, the removal from the Cube Warlock is so good against this Paladin deck.
Mulliganing is going to be everything. Now, bananaramic, who's whiffed twice now on Possessed Lackeys and Void Callers, is probably tempted to keep this Mal'Ganis in hand just to be safe, but I think you got to just keep Hellfire. Yeah, it's Hellfire and hope and pray for more defensive cards. Prince Talleyrand comes in, though. There's your 3-drop.
The only 3-drop in the deck. Not necessarily something that you want to play still, though. Well, if Dad plays Righteous Protector, I'm perfectly fine with playing Prince Taldaram on a Righteous Protector. Importantly, Taldaram does not just need to be used to copy your cubes or copy your Void Lords. It can be used on opponent's minions as well. So here it will probably just be a stall tactic for bananaramic would be my thought.
I was just thinking of it as just beef. Like, you just need any sort of board presence, and even, you know, the trigger's not going to be great, but it's kind of almost like a Barnes at that point. You're just like, nah, here's just like some beef on board to like trade with your dudes early on, even if you're not getting the most value out of his battle cry. There goes doink. 1 hit to the face.
A bit of a weak-ish start for Dab.
Yes.
He is absolutely looking for Call to Arms. Call to Arms is the strongest card in this deck. If you can coin Call to Arms and then thin out your deck so that your density of draws is much better, you're in a really fantastic position. Even though bananaramic still has really well-situated removal against your board presence, this Dude Paladin deck is really, really good at putting threatening board after threatening board after threatening board into play. So there is a situation where Dab just, again, threatening board after threatening board, maybe pick up Divine Favor, refill the hand, and then bananaramic runs out of removal.
This is the final game of the first round of the Hearthstone Wild Open. One of these two players is going to go home. The other will advance to the semifinal matchup, just 1 match away from advancing to the live Wild Open finals here in sunny California. Now, bananaramic started off this match, if you're just joining us, with a 2-0 lead up on Dab. Looked like he was going for the sweep. Dab was able to defeat this Q-Block deck, first with Combo Druid, then with Burn Mage, and here we are, the final decks of each lineup. Dude Paladin for Dab, Cube Warlock for bananaramic, and bananaramic's unfortunate luck with Q-Block has I must say, kind of continue. This isn't exactly the hand that he wants here, but he got a little respite by dirty ratting and hitting Quartermaster, taking out one of the Quartermasters. If you're putting something into play for free, a vanilla 2-5 isn't the worst thing to deal with.
He could have been so punished there with the Crystal Lion in hand for Dab. The Crystal Lion comes down, the Rallying Blade buffs it. Now you've got to clear through that dirty rat, and a 6/6 just on the board. It worked out, but we are not results-oriented casters, Rumham.
No, process all day.
I don't like that play from bananaramic. Yes, the majority of the minions in the deck for Dab are small minions, but if there's even a small percentage chance that you get punished, I think that there was another play. The Taldaram could have just come down on the Righteous Protector and would have been absolutely fine on board, and bananaramic wouldn't have had to risk that situation. He's going to go for that Dirty Rat again, this time pulling the Lotheb. So again, rewarded, denying the Battle Cry of the Quartermaster, denying the Battle Cry of the Lotheb. But risky plays overall when maybe bananaramic didn't have to be.
Yeah, I think the 2/6 taunt is so much of a better body in this matchup that maybe that's what made him feel comfortable. Because even if you're pulling down Crystal Runners, the Crystal Lion can't hit or can't kill the Dirty Rat in one swing, so it's not as bad as if it was pulling down like the secret, the 6/6 secret Battle Cry guy, for example, who at least his body would be really strong at trading with Dirty Rats. So we're going to get some more secrets out here. By the way, shout out to Dab for playing the sweetest Paladin hero. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Prince Arthas definitely strictly better than the remaining Paladin heroes.
I will admit, I do not have Arthas.
Me neither.
Yet.
Me neither.
I did not beat all of the classes up against the Lich King because I have very little patience. I
did do the dungeon runs, though. I completed all 9 dungeon runs.
Nice.
But yeah, no, I also have not done the Lich King with all 9 classes yet. That takes a while. You got to go on to one of those websites that show you all the decks that you have to build and sit there and really methodically do it for a couple hours, because some of those are not as easy as you'd think.
Back to all the way to heroic adventures. I think I beat Blackrock Mountain. I think I beat Naxxramas, and I have not done any of the other ones.
It was Nax for me. I did Nax, and after that I just sorry. Which is why now the adventures are free coming along with it. I want to see more dungeon run stuff long term. That's a super fun format that if you keep putting out more dungeon runs, I'll keep playing them.
Yeah, it was a great addition to the game, having some really engaging PvE content, a little bit of a respite from all of this intense competitive Hearthstone. Bananaramic, this Defile just does not do
enough.
enough.
So he's going to try to Dark Bomb here and maybe set up a 1-2-3 Defile?
But this still leaves the Crystal
No, it
Lion
might be
on
a
the
4,
board
actually.
pressure.
No, it'll be a 4. 1.
Yes, but the Crystal Lion still lives.
Oh, you're right, by 1. Okay, yeah. Or by 2. Okay, but still, though, that's a huge defile for only 2 that helps him set up. He's going to have a Void Lord in a couple turns. Twisting Nether activates in a few turns. He's got 2 Hellfires, but...
Bananaramic running...
Ooh. Hellfire's not bad here, right? It's going to leave a 1/1 on the board. Not a lot of pressure left in your opponent's deck. Dab would only have a Spellbreaker and an Equality, which isn't really going to get there against a Sylvanas and all the other Void Lords that are coming back after.
Dab is running out of resources. He needs to find the only copy of Divine Favor in the deck, or he needs to find the more impactful cards. So Sunkeeper Tarim, Vine Cleaver would be fantastic, or again, those Call to Arms. He needs
oh my God, Call to Arms, yeah.
stuff. He has the ability to silence a Void Lord, the ability to get through a big board with just a couple of dudes with the Equality, but he doesn't have the pressure right now. And Bananaramic may be down to a low-ish life total, but he still has more than enough removal to clear up everything the Dab can play.
I think Banana's trying to decide whether or not you Hero Power. Because if you Hellfire down to 11, then you Hero Power, which is he's going to be down to 9. Ugh, it's pretty gross. It's definitely a lot more dangerous than you want it to be.
Okay. Going with the Tal'Daram now onto the Righteous Protector. That Sunkeeper Tarim, that is pretty sweet. But I think Dab may just elect to go with the Spellbreaker here and push full face. Tarim could be the aggression, though, that Dab needs to be able to close out this game.
So that Silence is going to put it down to just a 3/3, and he's going to be able to push through 7 damage, putting him down to 5. That really makes Bananaramic unable to Hellfire and do it again, but to Hellfire and Hero Power again. But yeah, oh my God, is this going to happen? Is Dab going to turn this around in the next 2 turns? Is Dab going to vaporize Bananaramic?
He may complete the reverse sweep. Trading one of the dudes into the Righteous Protector just doesn't want to leave anything on board for Bananaramic to potentially Dark Pact. So that was a really heads-up trade there from Dab, especially seeing that Bananaramic did draw that Dark Pact.
I think you have to Hellfire here because you're going to take out the 5/2 and the 4/3. It leaves him with a 1/1. You're at 3 health left, so he can put you down to 2 with the 1/1. But actually, you couldn't do that because then Tarim would win the game. So he's thinking about it.
Bananaramic, either he needs to play into weapons and Tarim and just hope that Dab doesn't have them, or it's Sylvanas Dark Pact and a real solid prayer that we're taking something of consequence here.
Yeah, it's got to be the 4/3 or the 5/2, or else I think you're more or less dead because Tarim might still
anything but
oh no,
that
Banana!
minion right there. Anything but that minion right there. 5/9, 12 damage for Dab with the Sunkeeper Tarim. It's not over yet, but Bananaramic quite literally was just hoping that he didn't hit that 25% chance of taking that Silver Hand Recruit.
Lucky pup. Well, here's the trick. Now you've got Twisting Nether. You can Twisting Nether, clear the board, leave everyone at 0, and then it's up to Dab to spend a turn or 2 getting something. He
just needs
Knife
one
Juggler
playable
for 1.
minion.
One playable minion, and Knife Juggler.
That's
Oh,
it.
no!
Game's over.
Oh, Dab with the reverse sweep. Bananaramic was up 2-0. Look at Bananaramic, can't believe it. He was up 2-0, and Dab turns it around, fist pumps, gives the yes. Lucky Pup does it again. Pup meta definitely #1. Petting that dog when he was down 2-0 led to 3 straight wins. Dab cannot believe it, and he is going to advance over Bananaramic into the semifinals of today's Wild Open broadcast.
Look at the relief on Dab's face, hands on head. Oh my God, he's mouthing there. Cannot believe that he managed to pull it off. Going down 0-2 is one of the worst feelings in the world.
Ouch.
You are at such a disadvantage. You feel like you just want to give up all hope, but he never lost that hope. A couple of cuddles from Pup, and the determination was back.